Have you ever wondered if you were big enough? If you have, you probably are like me growing up. I grew up as the little guy when playing competitive sports. From 8 and under baseball to junior year varsity football, I was always much smaller than my peers. At one point, I even accepted the fact that I will always be much smaller than my opponents, and it was tough on me mentally. This led to the assumption that because of my size, I would never get much playing time for as long as I played the game of football. But boy, was my assumption wrong. It all started 7th grade B team football. Was my first time playing competitive tackle football, and I was excited to finally be a part of a team and participate in the sport that I love. Little did I know that my 4 foot 11-inch stature and my 75-pound build of all muscle would be a major setback in the physical game of football. I knew I was smart enough to play, but I struggled earning playing time because of the physical strength I simply lacked. I would always put forth 110% effort in the weight room, but never saw any results. This was mentally deteriorating because of how passionate I was about football. And no matter how hard I worked, in and out of the weight room, I'd always be the little guy. So I decided that if I'm always going to be much smaller than my peers and opponents, then why not find professional football players who are in the same positions as me and look up to them as role models? So that is what I did. There were many guys in the NFL that I looked up to, but I would say the player that had the biggest impact on my life, and more so my mentality, would be Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. He stands at 5 foot 10 inches and is in the NFL as a quarterback. This is fairly small. Watching him play would give me hope and would help me motivate me to become a student of the game. I figured that if I am not the biggest person on the field, then why not be the smartest? I would continue to work hard, but would search for ways to separate me from my peers and stand out. Russell Wilson grew up competing as the smaller guy, and if I knew that if I could mimic his work ethic and what he did to get to where he is today, then I could build my own success on the field. This was the base for a new mindset that I was looking up to build upon, a mindset that I call a growth mindset. A growth mindset is when an individual develops their talents and skills through hard work, good strategies, and input from others. Around the beginning of my freshman year of high school, I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to be the biggest guy and decided to become a student of the game and the hardest working player on the team. At this point, I'm still only 5'2", 100 pounds, and I was still looking to play quarterback. I continued to work out, but I spent most of my focus towards mastering the game. Every day, I would take time outside of practice to study the playbook and watch film, and it was before too long to where I would start seeing results. At the beginning of my sophomore year, I earned a spot as the starting quarterback for the junior varsity team at my high school. We ended up winning 7 games this season, and my previous assumption of having to be the biggest on the field was all in the past. I was happy with my performance, but still wasn't satisfied. I wanted to be the best, so I continued the same process of studying day in, day out. And it was before too long that my body decided it wanted to grow a bit. I began sophomore year 5'4", 120 pounds, and within a year I grew to 5'8", 165. This is where I finally began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I earned myself a spot as the starting quarterback for the varsity football team and led myself and my teammates to our first playoff appearance in 8 years. After 4 mentally draining years, my hard work finally paid off, and my size and stature was something I would never have to worry about again. I was always the smallest guy and was never given the opportunity to prove myself because of my size. I worked out but would never see any physical results. I had to search for other ways to help build the success that I strive for on the football field. I looked toward professional athletes that faced similar challenges as me growing up, and I would use their stories as motivation and a base for where I could begin to grow mentally. My work ethic and dedication finally paid off when I earned a starting position as the quarterback for my varsity football team. My size didn't matter at this point, and it was all because my knowledge of the game separated me from everybody else. So, for any kids out there wondering if they will ever be big enough, don't worry, your time will come. But until then, have a growth mindset and become the best mentally you can be. I now believe that no matter how big or small you are, you can do anything if you put your mind to it.